afternoon. Welcome to the Film Fiayh podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ada Vabanel, and that man Dwayne will hopefully be joining us a little bit later if we can get him on. But today we have a special episode that's really in conjunction with Sabbath 2025, our 7th year film festival. And our film festival this year is themed Action Vision. So it's all about action. And we have a brother that we're bringing you today who is definitely having a vision and has action behind it through BlackTree TV. That is on YouTube. And we are so happy to bring Mr. Jamaal Finkley. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the Film Fiayh podcast.
Film Fiayh. Yes. You know, this is something it's kind of an extension of what we've been doing on Sabbath. So we are launching it during the festival this year, 2025, and moving forward with that. But really, it's about bringing Black excellence in many forms of the industry, independent and Hollywood industry. People doing great things, people with vision. And so we are excited to have you on, because let me tell you this. I had never even heard of BlackTree TV until one day I was visiting my sister in Atlanta and she's watching YouTube. I'm like, what is that? Watching old movies. And so I just got like enthralled and started watching it. And I brought it home watching it, but my mother watches it. So I love that I can see For the Love of Ivy, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Uptown Saturday Night, and a bunch of other things that are coming on. And so how did that even come about for you to, one, put BlackTree TV on YouTube, but two, get the old vintage films and bring that forward?
Well, I mean, it's a long story. I mean, BlackTree TV, just as a media network, kind of just started out of me just being into emerging technologies. So when I was in school, I was in a biomedical engineering program, and we were learning coding. This was early internet, things like Hotmail and Gmail were just coming out. And one of my classmates went on to start a company called I Wonder, which ended up becoming the Macromedia Flash, which was the first company to kind of allow you to embed video within the HTML frame. And when he did that, because I was working on it, I was like, well, look, I have video because I started doing video a couple of years earlier, and I became one of the first people to actually have entertainment video like online. So the way it found itself to YouTube is, at the time I had to pay for space. So I would cover stuff, and every extra video that I uploaded would be like just more megabytes, and the services went up. And when YouTube came around in 2005, it just became a server solution for me. Mm-hmm. So before YouTube came around, I had already streamed about 16 million views online. We were connected to the BET.com page for it was BET.com/awards. So because we was covering their awards from 2002 on, they just had our website as like the awards page. We had red carpet and some interviews on there. Uh-huh. And we had already generated kind of a little bit of a community, and definitely covered like a lot of people by that time. So that's how we found ourselves to YouTube.
What year was that? You said BT was still Robert Johnson. What year was that?
Yeah, this was Bob Johnson, BT. I mean, the first coverage we did was 2002, which was the BET Awards in Vegas with Busta Rhymes. In 2003, we went and we interviewed Michael Jackson and James Brown. We were the only video camera in the room with Michael Jackson and James Brown. BET actually doesn't have that footage. They had a sound reporter, but we were the cameraman in the room, and we got like these sound clips between Michael Jackson and James Brown while they were together. And some more people. So we worked those Bob Johnson years and a couple of years after, but our relationship started sort of souring under the Deborah Lee BET era. So that was what we was doing then, and we was working on multi-platforms. So in 2004, we were the first mobile streaming company at the Grammys. So we did a deal with a UK telecom company called Vodafone, and we were streaming the Grammys in 2004 on mobile devices. So we've always been like doing emerging technologies, and so YouTube just became a solution for us because we didn't have a budget to keep on paying for other stuff.
I'm gonna bring my co-host Matt D. Wayne to this.
What's up, D. Wayne?
How you doing, brother?
How are you? So I wanted to ask you this, and DW, you can jump in anytime.
Sure.
But I thought you were a journalism background, so you have technology background on you.
Yeah,
journalism.
I was headed. I was I was either going to the Olympics or going to med school was my hopes. And Spike Lee came to town. I was going to school in Nashville at Vanderbilt University, and I was biomedical engineering. In my third year, Spike Lee came to shoot Get on the Bus in Nashville, which was his primary location for Get on the Bus. So, at the time, I had this huge afro. Like Jermaine Dupri used to say I was a So-So Def logo. I had this huge afro. So the Jackie Robinson Foundation and Spike Lee came to my school to speak, and he seen me in the crowd and pulled me to the side after he spoke and said, "You want to be a PA on my next film, Get on the Bus. We're shooting here in Nashville." And I didn't know what a PA was at the time. And
Right.
I went and I said, sure. And I ended up having to miss some classes, and the engineering program is intense. So it kind of like I was adding a semester to my studies, but I was having so much fun. I mean, it was like Wendell Pierce and Ozzie Davis and Bill Harper and Bernie Mac, and it was like so many people that was on this set that I was just having such a great time working and helping build dolly tracks. And because it was under budget, we was doing gaffer work, grip work, we was doing all type of stuff. And I'm meeting all these people, and it turned on a bug for me. And before that, I just loved films, but I didn't know the magic behind making it and all the people that went into it. And I tell people this story all the time, is especially like young people, is like, watch the credits afterwards and realize that those are all jobs. Because I had a small scene in Get on the Bus where I kind of pull up for background lighting. I'm in a truck and they at a gas station. I pull up for background lighting and walk into the gas station. It's not a speaking part, but
I gotta go watch it just to see that.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
And I thought I would be in the credits, and I stopped and watched all the credits, and I was like, oh, I know this person. I know this person. I know the AD. I realized that these were all jobs, and that opened my whole mind into like all the opportunities in film. Because I knew I wasn't an actor. I didn't know what I was. I was like, there's jobs that I could get in the film industry, and I started kind of going down that road. And if you remember the character Xavier, played by L. Harper, he's walking around with a Sony DCVX 1000, actually a 2100, and I ended up buying that camera. And that was like me from then on. I was that character. I was the guy walking around doing interviews with the camera. So that's the start of BlackTree right there.
So your mama had Spike Lee and daddy had Spike Lee to thank from you being a biochemist.
Yeah.
Wow. That's an amazing story.
And that is amazing because, like you say, you bought the camera. And I remember, it's been a second since I've seen the movie, but I remember watching it when I was younger. And obviously it's been a few years since I've seen it. But as soon as you mentioned the camera, I see that image in my head of the kid holding the camera. And then being what you've grown into and what you're doing now, you're documenting our history. You're a documentarian as much as a filmmaker. and I think that's a great what's the word, like there's a word similarity or something to it that comes along with that. It's full circle in a way. I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean I definitely feel like the responsibility as a historian, because I feel like the hieroglyphics and the scrolls of the past are now media, and while we don't own a lot of media, it's like that gives people a chance to change the narrative of what happened. But I try to like keep footage and keep it informative and not, gossipy and whatever, just because I want people to be able to celebrate or learn more about people. I always tell journalists, like, whatever you want to do, you want people to either know more or like the person more after the interview. Like that's supposed to be a goal, like to learn or hopefully like the person more, and not to just find like some gotcha thing, So
when you were doing that with Bob Johnson, that's probably a time that I was at BET. Was that the early, like I got it? Was that like mid 80s?
No, I started. So BlackTree started in 98, 99, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And then I started doing, my first thing was like the Country Music Award, the CMAs. Like I snuck into that because I was in Nashville. I started doing Source Awards and Vibe Awards and Soul Train. And I didn't get to BET till 2002 to cover the BET Awards, and then 2003 was the one I really got a lot of access on, and from there it was on and popping.
Well, tell us about. I just wanted to know. I mean, like with BlackTree, what made you decide to build your base on this platform on YouTube as opposed to, I don't know, any other platform?
I mean,
like that.
There wasn't a lot. I mean, there wasn't a lot of video platforms at the time. I mean, I think Daily Motion was launching around the same time. There was a company called River that supposedly have an ad share type of situation before YouTube did it, but they never paid me. So I remember putting videos there also. But just on my platform, even though I couldn't put long interviews. It'd be like real short clips. It was almost like a TikTok. Right. It takes so long to load. And I would have this, you would click on like, hey, I want to see this video of, let's say, Usher, this interview of Usher. And you click on it, it may be like 45 seconds, a minute and a half. And you have to wait like 3 minutes for this tree to grow while QuickTime players like loading this video up and then it plays.
That was the death of, that was part of the reason why the death of, what was the first one before Facebook? That everybody had.
MySpace.
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace took so long to load that was the death of it.
Yeah, so it was just like really for efficiency, and like I said, I had to pay for server space. I had just CPUs in my garage serving some of this stuff, and had to do put it on, pay for a provider to host, and it was just costing more. The more footage I put up, the more it was just costing me. And at the time, stuff wasn't at scale because people were uploading, still stuff, not videos. So the way that the companies were charging you was, like kilobytes and not megabytes and not gigabytes. You start putting like videos and videos. I was paying money like I was CNN at the time or something. It was getting crazy. So YouTube became the solution to not have to pay. And that's where, that's why I gravitated to YouTube at that time.
And obviously, it's done well for you. You got a following over 750,000. Is that what I've seen?
Yeah, over 750,000 on my primary channel, but I have about 14 channels, so I'm about 1.3 million on subscribers.
That's huge.
All together. So, YouTube's been okay, and Google. I mean, more than anything is search. So people, just being something that people are looking for, it serves a better purpose than Instagram or any other place, because people are searching on Google and they can find these videos or find these people. So I think that was a big, a big advantage to being on that platform is that I was connected with search, and people were looking for people, and they could find these videos there.
Well, what's the concept behind BlackTree? I mean, I can pick it up. I want you to tell us the concept, how you came up with the name and the concept behind it. How did you come up with all that?
It came to me out of, like, I didn't know at the time what I was gonna name it, and it was, you know, I'm in college and trying to figure out stuff, and just one day it just came to me. I think corporations were like merging all over the place, like I think MCI and some other corporations just merging, and I was thinking, like, how do you compete with these corporations? We're all individuals doing something, and these corporations are just getting bigger and bigger. And the idea of BlackTree was that we had like this central goal or idea, but these branches could be our different talents that we bring to the company, and it was so that we could propose, you know, we could pitch solutions with different people under one company and just like kind of work it out. So it was more like a black entrepreneur group, you know, than anything at the start, before it even became BlackTree Media, and then media became the central thing. But the first logo had like a branch was like an artist pen, a branch was like a DJ table, a branch was like a calculator for accounting. There was like everything was different branches, like, you know, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. That concept was
that's huge.
Very revolutionary. Yeah. As far as so you started as that, but you gravitated to BlackTree TV. And that jingle, like, I love the jingle. It's very catchy. So whose voice is that, and how did you come up with the jingle? Because now you move from the initial to this whole picture, you know, background with the classics and all that. So you've transformed into that. But how did the jingle come about, and whose voice is that?
Well, let's start with the jingle. The jingle, I actually I can't find the person whose voice it is. It was a person, somebody living on the street in Long Beach, California.
Wow.
And he had a "Will Sing for Food" sign, and I said, "Can you do me a BlackTree jingle?" And I gave him $50. And this was like way back, like I hadn't used it for years. It had been in my thing for years, but it's like there's no way. I mean, I have the video of him, like his picture, but I don't know how to find this.
Oh my God, that's an amazing story.
So one day when it becomes $1 billion company, he can come back and super royalties on the jingle.
No, he got his $50. He signed off.
He got his work for hire thing. I still bless him.
Oh, I love his voice. I love it. I love it. And I mean,
I have a video. I was like, one day I want to, but it's like, he living on the street. I don't know. I don't want to put him out there either. You know, like.
Yeah,
he might have got himself together. You never know.
He might have.
His voice is legendary.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. It's perfect.
It draws you in, though. It gives you a sense of because, you know, when you see something like BlackTree or anything that we do, say Biff, for example, you feel welcome. You feel like family. And so when I heard the jingle, it was welcoming.
That
was the best I could say. Yeah, come on in. And then for it to say Saturday morning cinema, I remember watching those movies with my grandparents. Matter of fact, when I got sick with COVID 2 years ago, whenever I got sick with it, laying around the house, that was one of the movies that we watched. One of those older movies with Sidney Poitier in it. And
I love Warm December. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? I mean, I love those movies.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I think they add to my, because I'm also working on scripts at the same time, and I think it adds to my lexicon of like what I want my films to take something from. Like I wanted to take something from the things that we miss in those old movies and and add to it. So I hope, and as a writer, like I'm a lot of these films I'm watching. I mean, I'm a film critic, and I've been covering film since 2005, 2006
Wow.
as a critic. But still, a lot of these old movies, like I'm still watching for the first time. Sometimes I'm watching a lot of them before the weekend because I'm like going through and editing and figuring out like how to present them. But a lot of these movies are new to me also, so it's like I'm enjoying them, and I'm definitely enjoying the camaraderie of watching them with people and hearing the comments. And it's something that as I build, because I'm building a network to launch off of YouTube. As I build it, is one of the elements that's very important to me, that we can have community interaction while we're watching the content we watch.
The conversation piece is crucial. It's absolutely crucial because and I love the fact that you mentioned you're a film critic and all the things. You obviously love film, and so that, I can definitely relate. We all, that's why we do Save It, because of the conversations that it can spur. And we have a lot of conversations. Me and Miss Ada actually got to sit on a panel where we were talking about Sinners and everything that Ryan Coogler did with the movie. Something that about the older movies is that it's like a time capsule, and you get to see yesteryear. And it hasn't been more apparent to me as it is now when you watch modern day films and you see everybody on cell phones, everybody's teeth are perfect, they're all perfectly white, their hair is always, you know what I mean. And then you look back at yesteryear, and then CGI can do so much now. But you look back at yesteryear when they had to figure everything out. And that is the fun of those movies and watching them and seeing how they, it's almost like you're having, especially as a filmmaker and a film lover, it's like you're having a conversation with these directors as you're watching their film. And I can imagine yourself, and I'll shut up and give it back because you see I can talk for a second. But I can imagine when you're preparing these films, and I would imagine maybe for commercial breaks or different things like that, that you really get a chance to get in there. Because if you're anything like myself, when I'm doing that, I'm looking for great times to, okay, we can cut here because he finished his line, the point was made. All right, we can cut there. And so now you get to see it from a different angle. Can you speak on that a little bit? I mean, you've been doing it, but can you speak more on that a little bit?
Well, one thing as a critic, because we start voting every late November, early December on films for Critics' Choice and African American Film Critics Association and Hollywood Critics Association and Black Reel Awards. And in those elements, I'm judging writing, I'm judging wardrobe, I'm judging sound, I'm judging cinematography. So I've learned to look at films and look at different elements of contemporary films. But I think that's also bled into like me watching the cinematography when I'm watching Piece of the Action or some of these older films and seeing like what works, what doesn't work. So I'm definitely pulling those elements from them, and probably more. I'm hoping more of it bleeds into my writing than anything, because I mean I just feel like this texture of the storytelling is something I more want to tap into than maybe some of the other elements. But I mean it's a wealth of stuff that you get from watching, just being a cinemaphile, watching all types of films,
right?
Different films, watching foreign films, everything else. So this is just one of those elements. When I went back to school, I took an Italian film class and I took a Korean film class and learned just absorb some of the stuff that Ben Jong-ho and the Korean filmmakers do and what the Italian filmmakers both do. I mean, and it's no different. I mean, it's a lot more personal for me on watching old school black cinema, but it's no different. I'm trying to take as much as I can, absorb all the good, and figure out how to compile it into something new.
Right.
So
I love the originality of the past. So many stories nowadays. I mean, it filmmaking is hard. Period. Whether you're doing a remake or what, but the originality of the past is something that I really look to, because their storytelling, they had to do it. They couldn't rely on special effects or flash bang. You know, they had to actually rely on storytelling, and that's something that I too look to pull from it.
You know, but in addition to that, one of the things that BlackTree is doing is bringing vintage films to a new era, a new generation.
What's old is new.
And I think that is very pivotal. I'm curious to know, because as I was watching, I'm like, who did this? Was what I was thinking, and how did he do this? How is he bringing us Hollywood films on YouTube? And so I was just so curious how you do it. How do you get these films from Hollywood to air on YouTube so that a new generation can have that exposure to these great films?
Well,
or is that a secret?
I mean, some of it is gonna be like, you know, some secrets, but I mean, there's a guy, a colleague named Mike something, and he's been doing Real Black for some years, and he's been airing like older.
Oh, Mike, yeah, Real Black, Philly.
He's been airing older films, and so I knew it was something that could be done, and it really the initiation of it is a lot more personal. Like I spent off and on like 9 months with my dad in hospice before he passed last August, and he watched old movies like it wasn't nothing. And you know, while I was going back and forth to New York to see about him, I interviewed Pam Grier for, I forget what it was. I think for Dem, or it was like I think it was Dem season 2. It was some type of horror thing. I interviewed Pam Grier, and she like gave a shout out to my father in the interview and everything else. And like we started connecting on that. But I was watching older movies with him, and he's like telling me, "Yeah, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this." And one of the movies I watched was Cornbread Earl and Me. After he passed, the first movie was just Renegade. I just ripped Cornbread Earl and Me and put it up because I wanted to just watch it. You know, I put it up. I was like, "Oh, they let me play it," and that was my first like old school movie. And then I started finding movies that was 50 years old, because some of the companies had just dissolved. I mean, the real time stamp is 70 years old. You start getting movies that go into general commons. But the 50-year-old movies, like a lot of these companies like Olive and Xenon, and a lot of these companies have dissolved and don't have people.
Is that like something like Stormy Weather or Showboat or those type of?
Yeah, you find a lot of. I mean, the blaxploitation era was exploitation in a lot of ways. So an actress like Pamela Grier is not receiving royalties on some of these old films. Because she's not receiving royalties, nobody's doing rights management, because otherwise they have to pay her when it streams. And that window of messing over some of the black talent, or just doing, you know, not giving them right deals, or studios just refusing to air some of these old pictures that they just have in their vaults, gave me a window to do some of them. And then other ones I could find ways to license them. Like even Three the Hard Way, I had to license through the music. I forget the name of the group they're from Charlotte, but they have music in it. And I licensed all their music. Right. And because I licensed their music, I was able to like air the film and receive revenue on it. And I just started finding deals like that, finding filmmakers that would allow me to license the content, or people that's in their estate that will allow me to license the content for like I can't think of this. What's the name of that movie? Emma.
What was it about?
Black Girl Revenge, or MMA.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I think it was called MMA.
Somebody that was from that estate that was doing, you know. So I'll find different ways to get, you know, some type of licensing or rev share for a lot of the films. And then
So that an area you had to learn licensing, or you have good lawyers? Did you do? Is that where you?
I mean, it's an area I had to learn, and some stuff was hit or miss. There's some places like Criterion and Shelf Factory that you could get bundles of movies from and license. So it's not one formula. Like it's really like going after different things in different ways. And I'll figure out how
any biggest lessons learned in the process of all this whole licensing and exhibition distribution. Any big lessons learned?
The lesson is that the studios refuse to either license or stream a lot of movies that we have that's out there. Thomasina and Bushrod, they won't let go. They won't even air it. Nobody has seen the Inkwell since the early 2000s. Like this Inkwell doesn't. I mean, Disney owns it. They won't allow it to be streamed or played anywhere, and you can't even give them money to stream. And
like why? Why? Do you know why?
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I was going to let you finish, but that was going to be the same question I was going to ask. Why do you think that's happening to our films?
I mean, some of the films, I think, because of racial sensitivity and what's been said in the film or what's portrayed in the film, they just want to steer away from politically. Other times, I don't know. I was gonna have Glen Turman, because Thomasina Bushrod is before the Mac. It has Max Julian in there, and Glen Turman, I think, is his second film. And this was before he got put on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And Glen Turman is a friend of one of the kids I grew up with, Omar Dorsey, who's also an actor. That's his nephew. So Omar and Glen were like, sharing a cigar, and I had FaceTime Omar. He's like, "Oh, I'm here with Glen." I was like, "Glen, I'm about to air Thomasina Bushrod." He's like, "Well," he said, "Yeah, Omar been telling me about your stream. I'm gonna come in on the live stream when you do it." So I was calling Sony. I was like, "Look, I give you 8,000, 9,000." I was trying everything, and they just like they said we'll stream it one Saturday on our channel on Sony. I was like, "That's not gonna."
Wow.
It's like that's not gonna
one Saturday.
So I don't know. I think there's political reasons. There's this lack of belief in it, lack of belief in the audience, or in the revenue from it. And I mean, a lot of these companies are trying to make money out of their libraries on all of these streamers, but you'll see some of these movies on there, but there's a lot of them you won't see. So
but I think it's a very interesting conversation, because there's always reasons, right? There's always reasons as to why our stuff isn't shown in the same light. But I think on the positive side, though, with what you're doing with that side of your business, the groups or companies that you worked out to, or the estates and families that you reached out to show their films that haven't been being shown, I would think that the appreciation factor from them was pretty high as well too, because it's a film of probably a lot of times their loved ones who their careers haven't been talked about in probably a while, and it's giving a chance to breathe new life into their whole career again and keep their memory going. How has that response been?
For the most part, there's some great nieces or whatever else that be like, I want a piece of the action, and they think that, oh well, you made $1 million on this film. And they have such a warped vision of what you can even like take home from streaming these things, and I've had stuff, I've had my channel held ransom basically because some granddaughter of the director of, I ain't gonna say.
Right. Understood.
I'm not gonna say, but it's like I had to pay them off to take off a claim that I thought I had already cleared. But so you get some. Now it's like the whole thing was like when I aired that film, it was the director's birthday and it was a birthday weekend and it hadn't been aired, and I had already cleared. Harry cleared like 4 rights with it that cost me some money, and then somebody else came and made a claim. So sometimes there's like hiccups with these the business of some of these streamers, and I don't know, but for the most part, it's been a good reception, and even for like indie filmmakers like Annie Clemens, who did like Next Day Air, and Benny Boom directed it, and the guy that wrote it, like we just have a 4-way split on rev sharing that film on a platform. We've all made a couple of $1,000s on that. So sometimes you just find like a good collaboration, find people for the rights, and sometimes there's
So do you have any? You mentioned the independent films. That's what I was going to ask you. Is there any plans to bring more Black independent films into BlackTree TV, because they own their own films, so it's not like you have to go through Hollywood's door to air their films. Documentaries, are those things something that you be interested in? Documentaries, features, independent films?
Yeah, I mean, definitely after the launch of the network, I'm gonna try to encompass as much content as I can from filmmakers, and even like people that just have independent series and whatnot. I want to platform as much of that as I can. Even while on YouTube, I think it's a viable thing. It's just sometimes the independent filmmakers are the worst people to negotiate with, because I mean, I don't know what they expect at the time. Sometimes it's just like, okay, yeah, I want to get my stuff out there, and I'm always somebody that's like, hey, if you're bringing something to me and we could both make money on it, I'm always a fan of sharing revenue and giving people that opportunity to do deals like that if they're bringing some some content to the table that I didn't have. But sometimes the expectation is unrealistic, or definitely something that I don't control, because there's one indie filmmaker who I've known for years. I actually helped edit this film when it was made, and it's this is a film over 15 years old, and I put it on the network, and it did good views. I mean, it did like 250,000 views, but there's a love scene in there that YouTube found risque. And while one thing that does 250,000 views is going to make this money, they did limited ads on this, and it made like $9. And I couldn't explain why. I mean, I was like,
and that's outside of your control. That's
outside of my control, because YouTube would do. I mean, and YouTube does it unfairly for a lot of stuff. Like stuff comes out on stuff are TV movies. This came out, some movies are ABC movies. Like this came out on ABC, but now you're saying that I need an age restriction for it on YouTube. It's like, it doesn't make sense. And I had to argue a whole bunch of content that I cleared, thinking that I was gonna make the money.
If the FCC cleared it to be on ABC, y'all should clear it to be on YouTube.
But there's no clear rules when you're in their sandbox. That's another reason why. I mean, other than the fact that as much as we need our own media companies, we need our own platforms.
100%.
And because a lot of times you can get silenced for reasons beyond your control. I remember when 2020 hit, we was on a roll. We was like, BlackTree was rolling on YouTube. I might have been 10 spaces behind PewDiePie and Mr. Beast. I was getting so many views. And then when the term Black Lives Matter came out and became controversial, somehow Black Lives Matter and BlackTree went from me taking home $18,000-$20,000 a month to me taking home $1,200 a month.
Wow.
And my going just
they tied it to it.
Yeah, it's like it was just shadow banning for stuff, and you just can't control it. And there's nobody to call. this is all, you can't.
Who you gonna argue?
It's aggravated, and it's just like, if you think they could silence Stephen Colbert, think about what they could do to any of our voices that they don't want to hear. It's easy. So I'm very adamant about getting into a space where we have a viable platform, because we did, and people talk about MySpace and Facebook, but 1998 we had Black Planet,
right?
And Black Planet, their first round of funding, I think they got, before they even got bought up by Radio One, and I think they only raised like $800,000, and then the buyout ended up making like $2 million, whereas Facebook's first round of funding was $40-something million. Mm-hmm. And Facebook took some of the same API from Black Planet to launch. Nobody talks about it.
Wow.
With the social network, nobody mentions Black Planet, but the Kenyan developer, that Black Planet was popping. People were on it. They had people, they had members, they had profile pages. It was a viable thing, but you couldn't get any of the investments. And I think we have to get to a point where we have a platform that you can be uncompromising with.
Right.
We have to do that. We have to support our own. We have to invest in each other. We may have to, not make as much money. If we're only a certain percentage, whatever that percentage is, then we need to be making that money off of that percentage. It may not be the inclusion of the other percentage, but we have enough to do, the fight that we want to, the voice and definitions and everything we want to get out there. We have that within our community, and that leads us to with what you're building into the future, and where you envision BlackTree going from here. If you could see BlackTree 5 years from now, where would you see yourself at?
I would see us as a major network, as a major platform, something that's, I would say, better, BETTER, than what we have as options right now.
Right. Right.
And I would like to have news, originals, licensed material, even technology in there, like that's something new that we don't see, like not just a Black version of this. This is something that's its own thing. It's its own.
Right. It's not a Black. It's a thing.
And I've always been about emerging technology. So you can imagine, I'm thinking of something that's not here, that's emerging, and I'm trying to create that. I went back to school and got a degree in film, AI, and society. So I'm very much into artificial intelligence and LLMs and chatbots and programming, and I'm creating something nobody ever seen before for the benefit of us. Mm-hmm. And even if I'm taking a small percentage, like you said, that's not my mission to be the trillionaire. It's for us to have a space for us that we are in control of and that we could protect.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I know, Mercedes, you want to wrap up real quick, but real quick, your feelings on AI and filmmaking. I kind of think that there is going to be a future where we're going to have a new category in these awards or whatever for film, and it's going to be, like non-AI. I don't know how to put it, but it's going to be films that are done without AI, and in categories of films that are done that allow AI. And I know there's all types of conversations with it, but practical effects and things like that, I think, have a place in it. What are your thoughts on filmmaking and AI in the future?
I feel like it will serve some processes, but I feel like people that think that they can write a script with AI or direct with AI, I always tell people, like, the difference between AI is, if you was on a hospital bed dealing with, you're in, and you had a doctor that wanted to talk to you, would you want to hear AI? Do you think AI could be personal or if it's Remember the Titans, you got Denzel on that sideline inspiring that. Do you think that AI can get that team to go beyond? And I feel like those levels of emotion that you see in great films will be the difference between what AI can deliver and what humans can put into something that's really tangible. So I think there will be processes that will help with line budgets, that will help with certain parts of the filmmaking process, even in outlining your script, but to doing some stuff to your script. But people that think that it's gonna put like a little prompt in and say make a movie about this, and it's gonna be what it is. It's gonna be real. It's gonna be real flat. You know.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking this time with us and being so open with us. Much best wishes ahead. Keep that action, keep that vision, and we want to make sure that folks definitely tune in to BlackTree TV on YouTube. It's not a time or a date; it's every day, every time. But you do have special matinees, special. I noticed that there's like Angela Bassett's first role or Denzel's first role. So it's fun to go back and watch that stuff.
Yeah,
but,
we just watched a new podcast called it's called Act One. That's what when we're taking like so far we got Shirley Ralph, we got Courtney B. Vance, and Vanessa Bell Calloway, and we talk about their first role and other like kind of like 4 roles that they've done, but we start from their first role and we try to feature that movie that week. So I want to like take people back to that time, and it's a way to like throw back and show where they came from, and also give like kind of scale to their career. But that's something that we're proud of. I mean, we're still kind of polishing it up, but it's something I definitely do a lot more of.
Well, there's definitely a lot for people to jump in and binge watch. You can get lost all afternoon. You know, they call it death scrolling or whatever. You can definitely get on your channel and find plenty of things to entertain you all day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being with us, and all the best.
Thank you.